Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's try the opener again. Sorry for the technical problems tonight. They've made some changes to the way things go over on Rumble, I guess. So I don't think we're running on Rumble 2. I had to make a choice. So Rumble 1 and all the other channels, and we're live streaming now to Kick as well. So that's a new platform for us. And great to have everybody here. We're going to talk about Donald Trump freaking out on Mark Carney, and we're also going to look at a couple of Chinese electric cars that you might soon be able to park in your driveway if you're Canadian. Stay with me. We'll be right back. Lots of other stuff to share, too, including the arrest of Ryan Wedding in Mexico City.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
Now, I do have a movie lined up for tonight as well. And I'll tell you what that flick is going to be a little later in the broadcast. So, yeah, stick around for Maverick Midnight Matinee following this broadcast on the Maverick News Network. But first, Ryan Wedding has been arrested in Mexico City. News conference held today with Attorney General Pam Bondi from the United States and FBI Director Kash Patel. RCMP also weighing in on this, confirming the Friday arrest of Wedding. He is accused of orchestrating a murderous multi-billion-dollar drug empire. This is a former Canadian Olympic snowboarder who is alleged to have, choreographed, organized, put together the largest narco-trafficking organization in modern times, described today as a modern-day El Chapo or a modern-day Pablo Escobar. Patel says that Ryan Wedding thought he could evade justice, but no. The wedding party came to an abrupt end in Mexico City today. We're going to go to this news conference. This is not live. This is the archived version, but I bring this to you now for your information.
Achievement because of law enforcement partnerships across America and across the globe come together to fight crime in all corners of the earth. Today, we are announcing a capture of another FBI's most wanted top 10 fugitive, Ryan Wedding. That makes 6 top 10 FBI captures in 1 year alone. To put that in perspective, that's 2 more than the entirety of the prior administration. And none of this would be possible without the tremendous leadership of Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice and our partners and prosecutors at the United States Attorney's Office here in LA and our Los Angeles field office. Here you'll see many of our brave partners, including the Commissioner of the RCMP, the Chief of Police of the LAPD, our LA field office, ADIC, along with our partners from DEA and CBP and more. This is what a united front looks like. And just to tell you how bad of a guy Ryan Wedding is, he went from an Olympic snowboarder to the largest narco trafficker in modern times. He is a modern-day El Chapo. He is a modern-day Pablo Escobar. And he thought he could evade justice. But these brave men and women put together a prosecution package, put together an investigative package, put together an operations strategy. And here we are today, bringing him to justice for trafficking hundreds of kilos of cocaine and also for the murder.
I used to say, if I hear AI one more time, I'm going to lose it.
We're going to talk about AI right after this, actually.
This individual and his organization and the Sinaloa cartel poured narcotics into the streets of North America and killed too many of our youth and corrupted too many of our citizens. And that ends today. I also want to have a tremendous shout out to the government of Mexico. President Sheinbaum, Secretary Harfuch, and the military and law enforcement officers of Mexico worked hand in glove with our teams on the ground there to apprehend last night in Mexico City, Ryan Wedding. I was privileged to be there on a previously planned trip, and this was a great operation that came together through interagency success because no one behind me and to the side of me cares about credit. They care about putting away the bad guys and safeguarding our communities. That is the leadership that President Trump has brought to the presidency. That is the support that he has brought to law enforcement from coast to coast. And I just can't say how thankful I am to be a small part of this and lead the FBI. These men and women do the hard work. But when you go after a guy like Ryan Wedding, it takes a united front. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing global partnerships from coast to coast. I want to give a special shout out to our ambassador in Mexico. Ambassador Ron Johnson quarterbacked this effort for us from Mexico for a year plus. As soon as he got to post at our new embassy compound there, he made this a priority and he came through. This is what leadership looks like. And this is a historic 2025 year the FBI is having. To put it in perspective, the FBI has had 67,000 arrests this year alone. That is a 200% increase. The FBI has captured 6 of the top 10 most fugitives on our board. The FBI has also seized enough fentanyl to kill 150 million Americans, a 31% increase. The FBI has arrested 35% more espionage corrupt actors from China, Russia, the DPRK, and Iran. The FBI has found and identified 6,000 children that were missing. That is up 22%. All of these historic record-breaking numbers lead to another historic record-breaking number brought to you by President Trump's leadership. That is a 20% decline in the murder rate in the United States of America. That is an all-time record for the modern era. Our communities are safeguarded by these men and women. We are thankful to be partnered with the Department of Justice and the relentless efforts to safeguard our communities by Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. But we're not done today. We're going to get back on the plane, and we've captured and apprehended another top 10 fugitive while we were in Mexico, and we're going to head east and hand him over to local law enforcement authorities. I also want to give a huge shout out to state and local law enforcement. This work is not possible at all without them on the front lines every single day. They are the greatest partners we could ever have, and thank God we have a president who backs the blue. And that is what results look like. Personally, for me at the FBI, I want to thank our hostage rescue team. I want to thank our special flight operations unit. I want to thank our headquarters component, our LA field office. This was a enterprise-wide success. The moving pieces to pull this off and apprehend one of the world's most wanted criminals and bring him to justice in the United States of America can only be done when you have leadership from the top with President Trump, the Attorney General, and all these great leaders here. I'm going to turn it over to the Assistant Director in charge of the Los Angeles Field Office, Akil Davis, for some more comments on the case itself and the investigation.
Thanks, Bob. Good morning. My name is Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles Field Office. We told you in November we would find Mr. Wedding, and today that day has arrived. The long arm of the law extends beyond our borders. This marks the 500th capture of an FBI top 10 fugitive since its inception 75 years ago. I want to congratulate the devoted team effort that led to this capture. Today is a great day for the FBI and for our partners here today, specifically our partners at the RCMP, the LAPD, and the DEA, and so many other agencies at every level. But it's also a good day for the victims of this case. Ryan Wedding tormented several people and several families that will never be the same. But today, they get the justice that they sought. Investigators worked tirelessly for well over a year to find Mr. Wedding, where he will face federal prosecution. As you know, Mr. Wedding and others are charged for their roles in a transnational organized crime network, shipping massive amounts of cocaine, approximately 60 metric tons, through Southern California on its way to Canada. Mr. Wedding is also wanted for orchestrating multiple murders of victims and government witnesses. In addition to the massive manhunt that went into apprehending Mr. Wedding, we worked with State Department to offer rewards, and the Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control, which imposed crushing sanctions.
I just want to pause it there for a moment and just highlight what he just said, which is that Ryan Wedding is accused of trafficking drugs from Mexico into the United States through California to Canada, not from Canada into the United States. The drugs were destined for Canada. That's an important point, because a lot of what I've been hearing leading up to this from some out there in social media influencer land leave you believing or thinking or with the impression that Ryan Wedding is responsible for bringing drugs from Canada into the United States. I just want to highlight that because this is something I've been saying all along, and here it is again. So I didn't say it. This guy just said it. And it deserves to be pointed out because it's an important point. Details matter. Truth matters.
In this case is also being worked under the auspices of the Homeland Security Task Force here in Los Angeles. I'd like to provide a few details to illustrate the sheer work that has gone into this case. We've arrested 36 people for their role in this organization. Again, we've worked with our Canadian partners, our Mexican partners, our partners in Colombia and the Dominican Republic. The Treasury Department has sanctioned 19 people, including Ryan Wedding himself. We see mountain of drugs, cash, weapons. We seized the Mercedes-Benz, estimated over $15 million. We seized dozens of motorcycles worth approximately $40 million, and other valuable artwork and jewelry.
And we'll pick it up right here. Here we go, going back.
Over the weekend and is anticipated to have his initial appearance on Monday morning. While we're happy about this victory, we have a lot of work ahead of us to prosecute this case and continue our investigation. I want to emphasize we are still seeking multiple individuals wanted for their roles in this organization. The State Department is still offering a $2 million reward for information leading to additional arrests. I ask anyone with information to contact us at 424-494-0614. The number can be called internationally, domestically via WhatsApp, Signal, or Telegram. I also would like to thank, lastly, the Ontario International Airport for making this possible, securing the security of the scene and allowing us to plan this in such a way. Thank you, and I'd now like to turn it over to Chief McDonald of the Los Angeles Police Department.
Thank you, Akil, and thank you all for being here today. The Los Angeles Police Department is proud to stand with our federal, international, and local partners as we announce the arrest of Ryan James Wedding. This has been a coordinated, intelligence-driven investigation into Wedding's global drug trafficking organization, which used Los Angeles as its primary point of distribution. Our collective efforts led to the seizure of more than 2,300 kilograms of cocaine, 44 kilograms of methamphetamine, 44 kilograms of fentanyl, 8 firearms, and over $55 million in illicit assets. This outcome reflects the tireless and seamless collaboration of the FBI, the LAPD, the DEA, and we're joined by Brian Clark here, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Together, we have disrupted a major narcotics pipeline impacting Los Angeles, the United States, and Canada. This is a significant blow to a criminal network that has endangered communities across borders. I want to personally thank the dedicated men and women from every agency represented here, from my own agency, the work of Gang and Narcotics Division particularly. Their relentless commitment over the past 2 years has made this operation possible. Because of their work, Los Angeles is safer, and those responsible are being held accountable. We appreciate our media partners for showing up today on such short notice. Thank you for that. It's now my pleasure to be able to introduce to you the Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Mike Duhem. Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start off by thanking Director Patel for inviting me here on this special occasion. It goes without saying that no single agency or nation can combat transnational organized crime alone. The arrest of Ryan Wedding is a result of strong, trusted partnership. I want to thank the men and women from the FBI, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the U.S. Department of Justice, Los Angeles Police Force, and all the U.S. and Canadian law enforcement that took part in this. They spent countless of hours and many sacrifices to lead us to where we're at here today. And without the results, we can proudly say that our communities, our countries are much safer with the arrest of Ryan Wedding. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
We'll take a few questions. Without getting into operational sensitivities, Ryan Wedding was apprehended last night in Mexico City. And to safeguard the integrity of the ongoing investigation, we will not go into that. But I think it goes without saying, to go down to Mexico to find a guy who's been on the lam for multiple years for some of the most egregious crimes on planet Earth takes an interagency-wide effort led out by President Trump, our DOJ, and our partners in Mexico, and very grateful for that partnership. Did you hear her? Sorry, go ahead. Unrelated to Mr. Wedding's apprehension, an individual by the name of Mr. Castillo, another top 10 fugitive on the FBI's most wanted list, was apprehended also in Mexico last week. We are going to be transporting him east right after we depart here today. As the gentleman stated, Mr. Wedding is in custody already. He was transported off the plane. Sorry. The indictment stems from the Los Angeles U.S. Attorney's Office, so the investigators, the police, will handle that appropriately in that jurisdiction. This arrest was a success of interagency law enforcement putting itself to the max every single day relentlessly. We will not comment on anyone regarding the rewards. We'll take one more question. Sorry, I can't hear you. Well, we came to Ontario because the weather's pretty nice here, but we also have to maximize operational security. We make these decisions jointly with our partners who run these airports. We make these decisions jointly with the local police force and our interagency officers. There are trigger points and earmarks that we have to meet to safely transport an individual of the level and caliber of Ryan Wedding. And so that collective decision was made to ensure the security of both the transportation and the federal transfer of custody that the FBI executed, and also to ensure the safety of his confinement and ultimate prosecution. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Okay. That's the way that went down today. We have footage. We've got the perp walk. Are you ready? Here's the man himself coming in today. There he is. He's not having a good day. Not at all. So he will make his first court appearance Monday. And again, Ryan Wedding arrested today in Mexico City. He's been making headlines, especially in Canada, over the last, especially over the last, I'd say 6 weeks. And so he's in a lot of trouble. But as you're seeing there, all the police agencies coming together across borders, and that's a positive sign. It shows that they're working together and that the politics is hopefully being what would be the right word? Is getting back on the right track, maybe, or retracked because of the arrest and the interagency cooperation. Because up until now, I've seen so much rhetoric, especially aimed at, both Mexico and Canada. I would say unfairly at Canada, based on the numbers, the statistics, to try and portray Canada as this giant drug hub of activity that is a conduit for pouring tons of drugs down into the United States. But you heard what was said during the news conference. And so I would just again point that out, because it's just not really accurate to portray it that way. And I don't think there's any question we have police agencies on all sides of the borders that want to deal with these problems. So good to see that happening. Now, what else do we have for you tonight? I said we would talk about AI, so let's do that now because, oh, well, maybe I should. Yeah, we'll do that first. Then we'll show you these huge protests in Minnesota and elsewhere aimed at ICE. But first, let me take you to Quebec City. That's where this cabinet retreat is happening. And today, Artificial Intelligence Minister Evan Solomon scrummed with reporters. So I thought it would be worthwhile to bring this to you because this is one of the most disruptive technologies it is probably the most disruptive technology in human history, or will be. This AI revolution is going to do more to turn the world upside down, and already is, than I think even the Industrial Revolution. So let's pick this up. Here we go with Evan Solomon.
Bonjour tout le monde. Let me just say, great to see you here. We are very excited that we're working together to build our plan on a safe, sovereign country. You saw the Prime Minister coming back from his remarkable trip in China, securing $7 billion of trade, really helping some of our key sectors. Obviously, talking about Canada's role in the world and the role that middle powers have and the control that we have over the things that we can control and bringing jobs at home here. And what we're really focused on today is building a safe, sovereign country, good jobs for Canadians, investing in those key sectors, not just the sectors of today, but obviously building a safe, sovereign, and secure, strong economy tomorrow. So I'm happy to take your questions. Alan?
Laura Osmond with The Logic. You've spoken about this AI strategy coming out sometime soon. The Prime Minister has talked about it with a lot of urgency. Do you expect it to be funded out of the gate or in the spring economic update, or is this something that's going to roll out over a long time?
So the Prime Minister, I was delighted that he spoke about the AI strategy. It's a key component of building a safe, sovereign, and strong economy of the future. It plays a big role in that. It'll be a focus. The AI strategy in Q1 will be a focus, and there'll be lots of details to come on the scale and scope of it. But again, I would say a couple of things. One, got to be built on a foundation of trust. Trust is really important. We have to drive adoption, and driving adoption is through trust. And some of the key pillars on that will be obviously trust and talent, and making sure that Canadian companies have the capital, the compute, and the customers in order to thrive and build. And those will all be pillars of our AI national strategy.
Will they require funding?
We are ready to invest in Canada. I think investing in Canadian companies and investing in making sure they have the talent, in making sure that they have the sovereign infrastructure, absolutely will be investing in Canada, as we did. And I will just point out yesterday, our 3 national institutes, Mila, Amy, and Vector, partnered with Innovia to start a $100 million venture science fund to invest in scientists and take their research and commercialize it to turn it into sovereign opportunities here and jobs here. So yeah, absolutely, the government will be supporting that.
The United States Secretary of the Treasury said that Alberta people are very independent people, and he's amplifying the Alberta independence movement by saying that they want sovereignty and they want what the U.S. got. And this comes at a time with the Alberta separatist movement seeking out meetings with the U.S. Treasury. So what are your thoughts on the U.S. meddling in Canadian politics?
I think you saw what the Prime Minister said pretty clearly.
What do you think, sir?
Canada survives because of what Canadians do. And we are investing in what we can control if I may, what we can control here by investing in our infrastructure, our jobs,
I'm talking
our
about a
workers.
foreign state meddling in our politics, sir.
And if I can just finish, the Prime Minister has laid out very clearly Canada's role, diversifying.
I just want to highlight that question. You see, it's good to see some people finally catching up. This is saying the quiet part out loud. The reporter just said, I'm talking about foreign meddling in our politics, sir. Foreign meddling. And that's a direct reference to the United States. That's something that really no Canadian government has ever really wanted to address directly. And nobody really wants to talk about what has really been going on in this country for at least the last 5 or 6 years. And that's foreign interference in our country, but not from China, not from Russia, although they're involved in their own ways. They have their own objectives, but it's the United States. Yeah, and it took me quite a long time to clue into it, even when I had somebody saying, this looks a lot like the U.S. And I was like, come on. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Yeah, that's what it's been all along. That is exactly what it has been. That's what it is now. And even as Solomon is asked about this point blank up front in this news conference, he's dancing so that Godzilla doesn't stomp on us.
Our trade and playing the role that middle powers have to make sure that we have a strong economy to make the decisions that keep our country sovereign. And that does not mean that you reply to any comment. We control, which is to build this economy, build new trade relationships, and keep Canada strong.
What concerns do you have then regarding foreign interference from the United States?
Look, the United States foreign policy is their business. That's what they are doing. We've all seen it. I think the outline that you've seen, that Canadians want sovereign choices. They want to make sure that they are safe, sovereign, and secure. That means they need the tools to build their own future. That means expanding trade opportunities. And that's exactly what it is to build that kind of resilience. And
quite the diplomat, isn't he? He has to be.
You know, your question is exactly why building resilience and the ingredients of resilience matter. And that means economic resilience. That means rule of law.
See, the point blank response, if we were dealing with this honestly, would be they should watch what they're saying, stay on their own side of the border and stay out of our politics. It's inappropriate for any foreign government to be meddling in our politics and fueling a separatist movement that is designed to break the country up so that it can be absorbed by this foreign power.
Law, that means trade resilience.
But he's not going to say that. He won't say it.
Resilience, and that's exactly what we're investing in. That's what we're building.
Michael Sarabio, CPAC. Minister, can I build? I will ask a question about AI, but can you build on what you're saying? So is the argument that you're making is that economic resilience will address the concerns of Albertans who may want to separate from Canada?
Our job is any government's job is to provide one, security, and two, opportunity. And those things it's incumbent on any government, provincial, municipal, or federal, and to make sure that we hear the concerns of citizens, providing them a sense of security so they can, and protecting their values, protecting the things that Canadians care about, protecting healthcare.
Still dancing. Still dancing. He's addressing the symptom, not talking at all about the cause.
Protecting, which we've done. Protecting childcare, protecting dental care. So those core services that make Canadians feel safe, secure, and give them opportunity. Then protecting economic opportunities. One thing we've done, for example, lowering tax so Canadians have more opportunities in difficult times, but also investing in Canadians. And so, look, there are always going to be stressful times, and let's not sugarcoat it. The Prime Minister never does. It's a difficult world. There are cleavages that are going to be exacerbated, and
he's not sugarcoating it, but he's not addressing it head on.
some folks are going to try to exacerbate cleavages and
exacerbate cleavages. That means the United States is meddling in our country, trying to break it up and take us over. We're under attack. That's a polite way of saying we're under attack from a country that is our closest friend, ally, partner.
We understand that. The job is to continue to invest in Canadians, to give them the opportunities.
Another translation, we're in an abusive relationship.
Because this is the best place to live, to invest, and to thrive. And that is the case that we've got to make economically every day, and that's why we're moving with urgency to do just that.
And will that address sentiments of Alberta separatism?
Again,
no, because the separatist movement out there is corrupt. Because it isn't really about giving people a better life or enriching them with all of the oil. It's not about that. So no, it won't do anything to address it. Not a damn. There's nothing that the government can do to really address that, to appease them, to get them to shift. The average person maybe, but the campaign isn't going to stop. Not at all.
The job for any government is to, first of all, protect the right to free speech, where people are going to have views on everything, and that's part of our values. The other part of our value is to make sure that the case for Canada is strong, and it is strong. The case for Canada is strong economically. The case for Canada is strong from a values perspective. That's why we're building. That's why we're investing in provinces like Alberta. That's why the Major Projects Office, led by Don Farrell, is there, because we're building all across Canada, including, of course, in Alberta.
So in other words, just highlight and build on Canada's strengths, try to work around all of these pressures that are being brought to bear by the United States. Not really. I wouldn't say it's the United States. This is just the Trump administration. This is Trump. This is MAGA. This is the other America, the new America, the current America that I don't think is going to last, because the cracks are already showing in the MAGA base. Even Joe Rogan coming out and saying that the activities of ICE are like Gestapo measures. So it's a lot of the people have been very supportive of this administration under Trump are now beginning to see the mask, see what it is for what it really is, because the masks are coming off.
And I want to move on to AI strategy. We're still waiting for the strategy
now
to be unveiled.
Now it's like a whole show.
Yeah, I'm not even hardly talking about AI, because the real concern, the issue facing the country right now is absolutely existential. We're under attack from Donald Trump. And the government is doing a dance because we're not sure what to do. They're not sure what to do. How do you deal with this? It's an almost impossible situation to deal with. But we're still here.
Well, I feel comfortable doing this. Anyway, so listen, when it comes to the AI strategy, in your consultations, what do corporations want to continue investing in this country when it comes to AI? Is it de-risking the investment? Is it loans? What is the message you're hearing in terms of fostering that industry and keeping it here in Canada?
Yeah, so my first priority is what do Canadians want. And what Canadians want is trust. I want to trust it. So there's a legislative part. You got to build the trust. Without the trust, the adoption of any technology, which will give the jobs. Two, opportunities to create. Again, let me just say we've got over 3,000 AI companies, pure play AI companies. 800,000 people work in the digital sector in Canada. That's the largest and fastest growing sector of the economy. So absolutely, we want investment in that. We are encouraging investment. There are things going on now. I'll give you one example. our compute access fund, a $300 million compute access fund that small, medium-sized companies are using in order to access compute to grow. So absolutely we want to create the conditions where other companies are investing in Canada, but also where Canadians are investing. That's why we have a Buy Canadian. You saw the MOU with Cohere, you saw the MOU with Coveo and others. So again, the government has to invest, the government has to adopt, and then we have to create, and we are creating the conditions where investment here in our innovators is happening. And again, Canada leads in research and frontier research on AI. We have to convert that into commercialization, and we're doing that right now.
Hi, Catherine Morrison with the Canadian Press. The Justice Bill criminalizing deepfakes wouldn't cover most of the deepfakes on X. I'm wondering if there are any plans to change that, and will the government stop using the platform?
So great question. As I said, the non-consensual sharing of sexualized imagery and deepfake imagery is a form of violence. And I'm very glad that C-16 and Minister Fraser's bill that's tabled that would criminalize the non-consensual sharing of deepfake imagery and sexualized imagery. We got to protect the vulnerable. And there's a lot, but that's only part of a suite. Under my ministry, we will be modernizing our privacy laws, and there will be an element of making sure that we tackle deepfakes. And I'm very interested in things like the right to deletion, and we're looking very closely at things like that in this piece of legislation. Absolutely. There is also my colleague, Mark Miller, on the online harms. And so there'll be this suite of protections to make sure Canadians have that trust and that Canadians are protected from some of the really horrible things that have happened online. I will also note that the Privacy Commissioner has started an investigation into X. And again, there was already an investigation before, but he's added an investigation into the use of deepfakes. I also note that X then changed their policy around what you can do with this horrific tool about notification and what they're doing. So I note that there's been changes there, but we are also having a suite of regulation to make sure Canadians, children, citizens, consumers are protected.
Also, is the government agreeing to set aside the TikTok ban related to the recent China trip or wanting to have better relations with China?
Look, we're glad that we're engaging pragmatically and eyes wide open with China. That's a file that's not under my purview, but there's lots of conversations ongoing with China. But this is a pragmatic, constructive engagement in the world that we need, and that's what you're seeing with China. And we were glad to see the Prime Minister go there and bring back some historic investments.
Monsieur Solomon, j'ai vu que vous parliez bien français à Montréal récemment.
Oui, mais je parle comme une vache à se mettre.
Okay. I think we've got it covered off for today on that file. Now, we will go back to, in a moment, the whole China question and bringing Chinese electric vehicles into Canada. But before we do that, I want to show you these massive ice out protests, or being called by some a strike or even a general strike in Minneapolis. This has been going on today. Huge crowds out in the streets. There are calls from the protest organizers, or at least the protest participants, and opponents of Donald Trump, hoping that this thing will spread, this, what they're calling a general strike, hoping it will spread. Here's some video of today's turnout. This is Minneapolis. Breakthrough News. Okay, hang on. I think I've got even better footage. Yeah, right here. Here's a drone shot. funny, I shouldn't say funny, but I've seen AI video generated like this too, but this is clear, crisp, and authentic. Today, Minneapolis, from the air. That is big. That's really big. Let's turn the corner. Holy smokes. Wow. Wow. So they filled that area of the city with demonstrators. Here's kids at a Colorado high school. And they're protesting as well. Assess as you will. See the emotion, like really, really over the top. That's spreading. Okay, let's take a little break. We're going to come back. I've got more on the other side of this.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
Okay. Donald Trump threw a temper tantrum after Mark Carney's speech. He has uninvited Mark Carney to be part of the Board of Peace. The invitation was extended to Carney and Vladimir Putin. I talked about this yesterday. And it's a weird setup, man. The Board of Peace is supposed to be, it was announced during the World Economic Forum. Again, if you're a big Trump supporter and you're triggered by the words World Economic Forum, but just somehow can't understand that is Donald Trump on the stage at the World Economic Forum, it's like, I'm just the MAGA base freaks out if you say WEF, World Economic Forum. Evil cabal, or World Health Organization. But okay, World Economic Forum, WEF, freaking out about that. I even saw Rebel News today. I didn't see it, but I think they were going after the CEO of BlackRock on the street. He was mentioned in a video description that popped up in my feed. I didn't watch the video. But again, like that's a trigger word, right? So it generates clicks, and people flip out if you just say WEF. But Donald Trump always gets a pass. So there he goes. He wasn't just speaking at the World Economic Forum. This was, I think, his 4th or 5th appearance there. And he used it as the launching platform for the Board of Peace. They're all up there on the stage at the WEF. And these world leaders from mostly sort of smaller countries are up there on the stage while he kicks this whole thing off. But the medium powers, the other sort of semi-major powers, even Russia wasn't there. So yeah, none of the real other big major powers were there. Israel was there. I think, Qatar, who else? Azerbaijan, just a lot of countries. Carney was invited to be part of it. He wasn't, he didn't say yes or no. But he was very curious about the $1 billion fee that is being charged to join, to have a lifetime membership on the Board of Peace. $1 billion a pop. Now, you can join, if invited, for a 3-year period, and there's no fee. But if you want the lifetime membership, that's $1 billion, baby. And it's not clear how many people, if any, have paid that money yet. Some of the countries and leaders who have been invited have just said no. And then Carney delivered his rebuke, really, of Donald Trump in without coming right out with chippy language, is a term that I've heard over the last day. No chippy language, but it was very clear what he was referencing, and that's the influence of the United States on Canada and our politics, and this attempt really to break our country apart. And Carney was hitting him pretty heavy straight on, saying that Canada does not live because of the United States, as Donald Trump says. He made it very clear that Canada lives because we are Canadian. And we do it different up here. We are different. We're distinct. We're unique compared to the U.S. And he addressed the shortcomings of this administration, this Trump administration. Trump's head has blown up, and now he has uninvited Mark Carney, basically banning him from the Board of Peace. So I thought tonight we would go right to the Truth Social scroll here. I have no idea what I'm going to see. I haven't even had time yet to preview this, but you can be pretty darn sure that there's headline making stuff on Truth Social tonight. Let's bring it up here. There it is. Here's the Donald J. Trump feed. Countdown, 7 days until the world will witness an unforgettable behind-the-scenes look at one of the most important events of our time. 20 days to history. Melania, the movie. Okay. Well, that'll be epic. Do you want to watch it? I don't know. It'll be copyrighted. I can't play it. Okay. Here we go. I want to thank President Aliyev of Azerbaijan and Prime Minister Pashinyan of Armenia for upholding the peace agreement we signed last August. That was a nasty war, one of 8 that I have ended, but now we have the prosperity and peace. In February, Vice President Vance will travel to both countries to build on our peace efforts and advance the Trump route for international peace and prosperity. We will strengthen our strategic partnership with Azerbaijan, a beautiful agreement for peaceful nuclear cooperation with Armenia, deals for our great semiconductor makers, and the sale of made in the USA defense equipment, such as body armor and boats and more, to Azerbaijan. Thank you, President DJD. Okay, what was this one? This isn't from Trump. I'm convinced almost all of the $38 trillion of national debt is due to fraud. Fraud. Fraudulent wars, fraudulent climate initiatives, fraudulent benefits for illegals, fraudulent foreign aid. Oh, I see. I see. So you spend the money, and then blame it on somebody else. Well, somebody was signing the checks, man. And right up front. So the buck stops at the president's desk all the time. Multiple presidents and administrations. Anti-ICE leftists have stormed them. Now, this is not his feed, right? But that's okay. We'll go over here and we will pick it up right there. So this is the Trump feed. I've been briefed on the record cold wave and historic winter storm that will be hitting much of the United States this weekend. The Trump administration is coordinating with state and local officials. FEMA is fully prepared to respond. Stay safe and stay warm. So yeah, it is nasty out there. One of the reasons I didn't have as much time to prepare today is because I've been a little neglectful over the last 2 days. I should have cleared a lot of snow yesterday, but I didn't really get to a lot of it till today. It took up a lot of time. There was a lot to do outside here in the Great White North. You don't want to take us over, Mr. Trump. It's too darn cold up here and way too much snow. You'd be wise to just stay home in the White House and put another log on the fire. So what are we seeing here? What else is coming? General Motors to move Buick and Vision SUV production from China to the United States. Well, that's significant, and that does highlight something that I've been talking about for quite some time, which is that China has been the largest growing market, including for automobiles in the world on the consumer side. And that's why these multinational companies, not American companies, multinational companies like General Motors, and Buick is a brand under the General Motors flag. They've been producing vehicles in China. Yeah. People don't realize it. You go to the Buick dealership and they have a couple of models that they've been building over there. And they've been investing heavily more in China, I think, than in the United States. But right here, let's take a look at the story over on CBS. That's where it links to. Here we go. And then I'm going to show you some stuff. Right there. General Motors to move Buick and Vision SUV production. China to U.S. General Motors said Thursday it plans to shift production of a Buick SUV from China to Kansas for vehicles sold in the U.S. The move comes as automakers face stiff tariffs on vehicle imports and as President Trump presses companies to invest in domestic manufacturing. GM said it will move production of the successor to its Buick and Vision compact SUV to the Detroit automakers, but it's not just Detroit, it's a multinational. Within people who own it are from all over the world because they buy the stocks on the stock market. Detroit automakers, Fairfax assembly plant in Kansas City, beginning in 2028. Vehicles produced for sale outside the U.S. could continue to be produced in China. The company has not yet announced the new vehicle's name. See, there's the key. Vehicles produced for sale outside the U.S. could continue to be produced in China and likely will be because the costs of production and the efficiencies, the economies of scale are so much greater over there that in order for them to have effective price advantage in the world market, they'll come out of China, not the United States, because the U.S. auto industry is not competitive. That's exactly what I've been highlighting for everybody. And over the years, we've seen, so many automakers fall by the wayside. If you go back to the beginning of the auto industries, like in Canada, the U.S., and the world, over a century ago, here in North America, there were I don't know how many hundreds of car companies. Most did not survive over time. They got whittled down into, finally the big three, now really the big two, because Stellantis is the parent company of Chrysler, which is just a brand under Stellantis. It could be spun off back into its own thing, I guess, at some point, but it has not been the parent company of things for quite some time. It's really just a brand, and they don't have many models at all. a couple, a shell of what it used to be in terms of an actual car company. Not in Donald Trump's head, though. So there you go. Let me show you what I mean. You remember the MG? Do you remember the MG? MGBs, the little MG Roadsters, British Roadsters, up the establishment, two-seaters, fun motoring under the sun with the top down, little tiny sports cars, somewhat collectible today. Well, they're still out there. MG as a brand. I don't think they're for sale in Canada, but this is a model that MG recently came out with. I with my automotive show, SST Car Show, when they unveiled this first as a concept vehicle, I highlighted this on the program, and this is actually in production in some markets around the world from MG. So this is a British up the establishment sports car. This one's electric. You like that? I think that is one sexy car. I'm going to check the chat. Give me your comments on the car. Give me your comments. What do you think? Do you like it? You want one of those? You want to live in the past? Little retro motoring with modern technology. These things are blistering fast. I've seen, since they've come on the market, they've been running them alongside supercars, like gasoline-powered supercars, rivaling the performance of vehicles many, 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 many times the price of this sweet little two-seater roadster. Blast from the past straight into the future. I think that's really cool. I think it has range. I don't know what the range is. Probably around 400 kilometers on a single charge. Not bad. I don't remember the specs on it. It's been a while, but it's in production. It's been in production for at least, I think, a couple of years. Pretty sweet, eh? You like that? Anybody? Dragon says, I'd ride one, Rick. Yeah, I'd drive one too. When that thing came out, I went, oh, I love that. Very much like the Pontiac Solstice or the Mazda Miata or the BMW Z4. Those two-seater sports cars. The thing is, though, that car, that's not British. That's Chinese. It's a Chinese-made car from MG. So they've picked up the brand, and it's being produced in China under the MG nameplate, but it's being sold around the world in various countries, but not here because the market's protected. But it's pretty darn sweet-looking car. And with this deal, I don't know what vehicles are coming to Canada under this new deal that Mark Carney just inked over in China. I know that 49,000 electric vehicles will be entering the Canadian market. People in the auto industry are freaking out, just like Donald Trump freaked out and said, that's it, Mark Carney, I'm uninviting you to the Board of Peace because you're not towing the line. Went over to China and struck a deal. And then back home, his critics are saying, well, I'm not going to, when he starts to do something, then I'll say something. No, he just did something. But I when I look at this on the surface, just my analysis from an economic perspective, it's not a bad deal. Because Canada in a given year, I'm not sure what the total volume of vehicles sold is. I think it's around 2 million, something probably in that range. And 49,000 is what they're going to let in from the Chinese market, Chinese production. So that's just a small portion of the total market volume. And it opens the door to new opportunities in many ways within Canada. So those vehicles not going to be produced initially in Canada, but they're already talking about maybe opening a factory here using Chinese EV technology. And that might also save Canada because, you see, under previous governments, because of the electrification push on the US side, Canada has been in lockstep with that. And we, as taxpayers, have invested very, very heavily in retooling auto plants, in building these new battery plants for EV vehicles. Now, with Donald Trump's new policies, tariffs, his new policies on EV incentives, he's basically tapped the brakes on the electrification of the industry. So it's slowed everything down. It's leaving these investments in question, even as these factories are being built. And Canada has invested so many billions of dollars into this gamble on an electrified vehicle future that I've said all along, it has to pay off or we're in trouble. Because this is, I think, unprecedented, the amount of money that has been dumped into the auto industry to subsidize these multinational companies in order to incentivize them to invest here, build here, and take us into an electric future. We have to find some way to get some payback out of that. I was never in favor of it. You people out there calling me a liberal. I said, don't do it. Bad idea. The market has to decide. You need to let the market forces drive this thing as much as anything else. Now, on the flip side of that, you go over there and you look at what's gone on in China, and they have, oh my gosh, how many billions have they invested over like the past decade to take a leadership position in electric vehicle production? Like, I don't know, it's countless. Probably hundreds of billions of dollars. So it is unfair in that way, but those government subsidies are being scaled back and eliminated on the Chinese side. You know what's really driving the efficiencies over there at this point? It's the economies of scale, just the sheer size of the production. They are building gigafactories, which is what Elon Musk is trying to do, but their factories are massive because they've gone into this thing with the objective of supplying electric vehicles to the entire world. That's why Canada, in lockstep with the United States, which has been very afraid of that, trying to protect their domestic industry. Now with Trump, previously to that, with Biden and these 100% tariffs on electric vehicles, it's to protect the inefficiencies, the inability of the American market to compete, even with Tesla. Tesla's not the leader anymore in electric vehicle production. It's companies like BYD out of China. Tesla's taking a back seat. I was in a Tesla just the other day with a friend who, because I went down to Chatham for the day, went home, and I came back that night. I don't know if I told you that, but anyway, I was down there to meet with him briefly. So he has a Tesla and he's absolutely sold on it. Personally, I wouldn't buy a Tesla. I've driven quite a few different electric vehicles over the last few years. And just a lot of reasons. The quality, I don't think, is there. And the service is a bit of a problem on a Tesla vehicle because they just don't have the dealer network. So I would buy a Ford electric vehicle or a Hyundai way before I would buy a Tesla. But be that as it may, he absolutely in love with the thing, charges it during off-peak times. It took me through the whole spiel on, the screen and how the charging works and the batteries and everything, which I was kind of familiar with, but did learn a few new things from him. So it was pretty cool. But there's a lot of politics there, and some people do love these things. And you take the politics and all the rest out of it. And if people want electric cars, I'm about freedom. I'm about choice. So it's like, go ahead, buy whatever you want. That's what should be driving the market. But what we've had is an on and then off and then an on and then an off switch that's being thrown on whether we're supposed to produce or not produce these EV vehicles. We've had welfare out of control. And when I say welfare, I'm talking about corporate welfare, because these big auto companies have come cap in hand to these governments, and they're saying, well, you want to push for electric vehicle production? Give us money. You want to be able to compete with the Chinese? Give us money. So the Chinese set that up, I guess, in terms of, having to level the playing field. But like, better be freaking careful. If it doesn't work, if consumers don't want them, we're going to be left holding the bag on a huge, huge bill with no payoff on the other side. And then we're going to have to do something different, like go back to producing gasoline cars, which is kind of what's happening. But Trump is just using these tariffs to bludgeon everyone into some sort of bizarre reverse compliance. And as a result, he's really, it's a fool's errand that he's on, because what you're seeing here is Canada pivot. If he's saying, we don't want your cars. Okay, you don't want to buy cars from us. What are we going to do? We're going to figure out something else. So off we go to China. And we've made a deal over there with not just the Chinese, but these other multinational companies. It'll be BYD will be here. And that's a company, as I said, who's one of the major investors in that company is Warren Buffett, one of the richest guys in the world, American. So is it really a Chinese company if Warren Buffett owns a big chunk of that? You can buy that company on the stock market. You want to own a piece of BYD as a Canadian? You can buy it. Go ahead. Nothing's stopping you. So this idea that these companies are Chinese or American or whatever, what matters is where the production is located. And by allowing like 49,000 vehicles into the Canadian market, Carney got something of extreme value. He got a couple of things. He got the Chinese to drop the tariffs on canola, which we needed to do in order to save the canola farmers out west. Thank God. So that's off. And the 100% tariffs on the EV vehicles never would have been there to begin with if it hadn't been for Canada being pressured just through integration of the industry and the supply chains and automotive production with the United States. The United States couldn't compete. We're tied to the United States. So we just went, well, okay, we're always in lockstep with what you guys are doing down there. So we'll join with you and we'll put a 100% tariff on Chinese vehicles too. But then Trump comes in, and being the economic moron and bully that he is these days, because something has happened to the guy and he's lost his mind, he decides to whack us with tariffs. Us. We're supporting you. We're with you. We paid a big price. Our farmers out west were paying a big price to support the Americans. That's what was really going on. But the conservative, I hate to say this, the conservative influencers, they're not conservative influencers. I don't even know what to call them anymore. It's like, it's all Carney's fault. It's all Trudeau's fault. It's all the government, it's Canada's fault that this is. No. We were working with the Americans, and now this is, oh my God. So yeah, what choice do we have? We're not left with a choice. Carney did what any Canadian prime minister, responsible prime minister doing their job would do, and that's he's gone to another country to make some deals, to replace the trade, to do something different. If you're not going to buy our cars, then we'll go find somebody, we'll make some other different kinds of deals. Had to get those tariffs off those canola producers, and he did that and gave up that much of the Canadian market on the automobiles, but he got something else. He got new opportunity, a restored relationship with the Chinese, opens the door to more trade. That could mean a pathway to selling oil into the Asian market, which would also help Western Canada. So there's a lot to help there. That would bring money back into the Canadian economy. That's going to keep us going as a country. That can come back into Ontario in many ways too. And as I said, there's already talk about maybe opening a plant to produce vehicles under a Chinese company, which would invest here, maybe. Certainly using Chinese technology. And that might, I don't think it will happen, honestly, as long as Trump is in there, but it could open the door to exporting vehicles into the United States because they will be cost effective. And if you look at what is it that's driving the EV market or the EV production in China, it's the efficiencies, the cost efficiencies. The government spent so much money to initially build up that industry in China. They took a gamble. They rolled the dice. They invested in research and development. They took some unique approaches to developing the technology, the batteries. A lot of these companies also have developed new supply chain techniques and strategies to increase efficiencies even more. BYD, for instance, produces most of its batteries under its own in-house or within its own company without relying on outside suppliers for a bunch of different reasons. The result has been that they are producing cars over there for, like, their costs of production are probably 60%, 70% less than cars produced here. Yeah, that much. And it isn't just because of lower wages. It's because they have economies of scale, more efficient supply chains. They've adopted new technologies, new production techniques, and these gigafactories, you just can't mess with them. You have to do something on that scale if you want to compete. And because they're supplying vehicles to the whole world, the cost of production per unit comes way down. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Maybe I can find this. Oh yeah, here's the Cyberster again. It's just such a cool car. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to. I'm not a huge fan of electric vehicles right now for a bunch of reasons, but it's still a freaking cool car that I just love the style of those roadsters, the Cyberster. But let me show you what else is coming. And I don't know if the Cyberster will actually end up here under the MG nameplate because they haven't really said which models will be coming to Canada. However, I think you're probably going to see this one. Speculating again, but I think it's a good bet. Here it is right here. This one's from BYD. And it's electric. And it sells on the world market for like way less than just about anything else like it out there. This is the BYD Seagull. Turn that audio down because I don't want to get a copyright strike on the music. Now that is an entry-level vehicle. That is one of the cheapest, like most inexpensive vehicles in the world right now, coming out of China. 300-kilometer range, 30 kilowatt an hour battery, 74 horsepower equivalent. So that's enough for highway speeds in a little car like that. So it's going to be a lot zippier than you think. Plus, it's electric, so acceleration is instant. That's plenty of range. Even for Canada, even with average distances in populated areas between cities of about 100 kilometers, say here in Ontario, you go from one city to another. And so you can make long trips in it and charge in 20 minutes or so. And it's very practical now in many ways to own one. And yeah, my buddy, he loves his Tesla, but this thing here, like, what are they selling for? I think if they come to the Canadian market, you'll be able to buy a car like that for, I bet you they come in here. Like, I've seen $24,000, $23,000 entry level as the base price for an EV like this. But I think they'll introduce them here for under 20 grand. That would be my guess. They'll find a way to bring the price point down in order to just really crack the market and sell these damn things. They might not need to, though. It depends on demand. And if they're only bringing 49,000 vehicles total into the market, the limited supply might keep the price a little higher than it would otherwise be. But that's what's coming. Now, you can't find an electric vehicle of any kind like comparable to that being produced in North America now or even in the near future that will compete with that, I don't think, at that price point. And so, as I said yesterday, if anybody really needs to be worried, you know who it is? It's Donald Trump and Howard Lutnick. They are worried. That's why they're using the tariffs on the auto industry. Look at that. That guy's so excited, he's jumping like a Mexican jumping bean. Maybe they'll produce them in China and in Mexico too. So as I say, these are cars for the people. This is more what I think is going to be coming, not so much the Cyberster, but and the thing about the American approach, I've just laughed at the way they've dealt with the EV revolution or whatever you want to call it. Because what have we seen from these American centric companies, not truly American companies? Ford, General Motors, right? What are they? We're moving to electric vehicles because of environmental concerns primarily, because we're told that the oil supply is very limited and we're running out. You can make arguments any way you want. But so what kind of vehicles have they produced? Electric Humvees. Giant Ford F-150 Lightning pickup trucks that weigh, thousands of pounds, go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in 0.2 seconds. They're like electric rocket ships on wheels. Not energy efficient at all. So there's just this mindset, I guess, that as long as it's electric, it's clean. A lot of the power comes from coal. A lot of the power comes from, fossil fuels and traditional energy sources. The only way that it's really ever going to work in the long run is you're going to need more nuclear power plants, which can be dangerous, even these modular plants. And you'll need to improve the power grid, upgrade it, harden it, and set it up so that it can handle the extra load of charging all these vehicles if they're all the gasoline vehicles are replaced by these EVs. But the point that I'm making is that if you're trying to do things in a more efficient way and you're trying to clean up the environment, wouldn't you think that from the get-go, they would be focused on producing energy efficient electric vehicles? But no, it's like, let's make super trucks that go as fast as a Lamborghini. And suck up more electricity than Electro, the superhero or supervillain. Was Electro from Spider-Man, the electric guy? Anyway, it just doesn't make sense to me, because that's just the American. Well, it's got to be big or go home. So they make these giant super electric trucks that take forever to charge, and you don't save any money at all. I thought that was the whole point. Yeah, my friend with the Tesla, he's like, if I charge it during off-peak hours, I can drive this thing around for $5. And like seriously, he's like, for $5. But it's if you go to those chargers on the highway, it's many times more expensive to charge up there. Because, of course, they've got you by the short and curlies, right? You're on a trip. You need to charge. Can't get home to plug into your home outlet during off-peak hours. Well, it's going to cost you 5 times more. And actually, when you're doing that, the cost is, in my experience, comparable to driving a car with gasoline anyway. So My preference still is to have a gasoline vehicle, but I don't know if you could start buying those things for under 20 grand. There are a few cars that have been on the market, like things like a Nissan Micra, like the little mini cars, gasoline powered, that you can get for around the $22,000 price point in Canada and the US. And I'm talking Canadian dollars here, but not very many vehicles. Even Nissan, I would buy a Nissan electric car before I would buy a Tesla because of the issues with the service. Anyway, I'm going to look in the chat here. Any comments on any of this from anybody? Child labor versus union rates on assembly lines. The big three are criminal too, says CBC Brown. The car sucky long time. Okay. I can put 52 by 4s in that car. Actually, you can strap them to the roof. I've been known to do that. Easy place for me to buy was from the major banks. I don't know what that's about. Optics is subjective. Says the only place I've seen Hummer obsession is in Alberta. LOL. Yeah. Oh, and Dragon says, it wasn't Electro Dragon? Electro? He says villain. Okay. Yeah, I think it was a villain. That's right. Because I remember him throwing lightning bolts at Spider-Man. I don't care how good or bad their Chinese cars are. We cannot support the Chinese. Okay. Why? Because you'd much rather get effed over by Donald Trump? I just don't see much of a difference at this point. I don't know. I don't see that one is better than the other or worse than the other. They're all doing it. And there is some paranoia there. Absolutely there is. Doug Ford saying the other day, those cars are going to spy on us. What does he mean by spy? What is an electric car? How is an electric car going to spy on you in a way that your cell phone doesn't? Yeah, they spy on you. They track your behavior when you're driving, but that's not just a Chinese car, man. That's like every car, even gasoline powered cars. There seems to be this strange belief or misconception that electric cars will spy on you more than a gasoline powered car. But that's not true either, because even in a gasoline powered vehicle, they're all digitized now. They're equipped to track your behavior, and they have things being built into them so that insurance companies can, go back into the computers and find out what you were doing how fast you were driving at the time of an accident. They can monitor your fuel consumption. They can keep track of your maintenance on your vehicle to see if you're in compliance with warranties. That's what they're spying on you for. And whatever other data they can skim off that then legally sell to marketers and advertisers, so that if they know a particular habit that you have, or maybe even where you go, if you like going to McDonald's, maybe fast food restaurant chains want to target you with advertising, and if they can skim that data off, that information, then I guess your car feeds them information that gives them more information about yourself than you know about yourself. So those things can happen, but they're doing that with their phone anyway, because they're tracking you everywhere you go. If you have one, any kind of a smartphone with any kind of data plan, and even without that, as long as you're connected to the cell phone towers, they're grabbing all kinds of information about you. So China, USA, Russia, Canada, they're all doing it to us in one way or another. The real answer is to not be afraid of the future. Don't be afraid of the technology. Don't be afraid of a Chinese car or a Chinese electronic consumer good. What we need is rules, laws, and inspections to make sure that we're protected from unfair, unethical, immoral, and illegal tracking. That's what we need. And we need governments who are forward thinking and able to enact those kinds of legislative measures. And there you saw Evan Solomon today, who is artificial intelligence minister. Is that his title? Yeah. Former CTV guy, by the way. So there he is talking about an investigation into X. The problem that Canada faces, like all other countries around the world, though, with regard to X, is that you're kind of limited, again, in how far you can push back against X, Twitter, because that is controlled by Elon Musk, who is not, he's from South Africa, but he also Canadian, but he is part of the Trump cabal, if you want to call it that, the Trump regime, the Trump administration. He's in there, and he's protected. And the U.S. government is using X to spy on you. And not just spy on you and spy on me and spy on everybody around the world. They're feeding us information through their algorithms to affect political outcomes in virtually every country around the world right now. So when Canada is saying we're investigating X, that's why, especially right now with the corrupt separatist movement out in Alberta. The government trying to protect the country, protect itself, protect Canadian sovereignty, because as much as people are focused on TikTok because it's the Chinese creation as the great cybersecurity threat to the country, X is the bigger one. It's a much bigger threat because we're not allowed to guard ourselves against it. You try to take any kind of measure against X right now or Twitter here in Canada, and you watch the pushback you get. It won't be allowed. They'll say censorship. Canada's no free speech in Canada. That'll be what it is. So very, very difficult thing. It's dangerous. But danger's my middle name, so I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Okay. So Trump saying that he doubts NATO would be there for the U.S. if the U.S. really needed NATO is sparking real outrage. Even within, the MAGA base and certainly among veterans. So here's some reaction on X tonight. Just look at what these are. Caskets. And Trump said, here, I'll show you the headline over here too. Here it is. Here's CNN with the related headline. Right there. Trump angers allies with claim NATO troops stayed a little back from front lines in Afghanistan. He says, President Donald Trump has once again questioned whether NATO allies would be there if the United States ever needed them, baselessly claiming that the alliance's troops stayed a little back from the front lines in Afghanistan. Quote, I've always said, will they be there if we ever needed them? And that's really the ultimate test. And I'm not sure of that. I know that we would have been there or would be there, but will they be there? Trump said Thursday in an interview with Fox News in Davos, Switzerland. In the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the U.S. became the first and so far only NATO member to invoke Article 5, which states that an attack against one member is an attack against all. For 20 years, NATO allies and other partner countries fought alongside U.S. troops in Afghanistan, a sacrifice Trump has routinely downplayed. And Canada was there too. And we have many veterans who've paid a big price for that. Ultimate price, PTSD, CNN. Hang on. So this is costing Trump again. I'm going to go back to this in just a second here. Here we go.
Never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines. But we've been very good to Europe and to many other countries. It has to be a two-way street. And it's been a two-way street, much more so. And now it's really been a two-way street.
Ask some Canadian veterans who served in Afghanistan if they stayed a little back. Ask some Canadian veterans or veterans from the UK or other NATO countries that went to Afghanistan if they stayed a little back when they were on the front lines or traveling in a vehicle that ran over an IED and it blew up. Ask them. Trump is isolating America. He's isolating himself. It's just coming back. Here's Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, former U.S. Army officer, on Times Radio, now just called the Trump Report, because they were just so flooded with Trump news every day that they now have just taken what was the Times Radio Report, and they've got a whole section now. It's like the main thing is they just call it the Trump Report now. And he says that Trump is losing the support of military and especially of veterans.
people in the military going, what happened to the guy who said he was against stupid wars? And now then we're shredding the Constitution. There is no separation of powers. The Congress is just completely kowtowed to whatever the man who's in the office of the White House wants to do. So that means that there is no separation of powers, and he can literally do anything he wants. That is a dangerous thing that many in the military, some find uncomfortable and some find outright alarming and dangerous.
Hello and welcome back to Superpowers, the future of global security with me, James Heapy. Today we're joined by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, a retired US Army officer. Daniel, this is a good week for a retired British Army officer and a retired US Army officer, both of whom served in Afghanistan, to share our mutual reflections of serving on the front line, because your president, to the enormous chagrin of many across Europe, said in an interview with Fox News this week that the Brits and Europeans didn't serve on the front line in Afghanistan. So I wonder, Daniel, if we can start by you helping me to correct the record on that one.
Well, I certainly spent, during my last combat deployment there in 2010, 2011, spent a considerable time traveling all around the country of Afghanistan and visiting all the front lines where the U.S. forces were. And I certainly saw a great number of our European allies, especially the British and the Germans in particular, in the areas that I went. And they were very much on the front lines, every bit as much as we were. There was no dispute, no difference between. It's not like there was some safe areas that the Europeans were at and dark and dangerous areas that the U.S. were at. So I genuinely don't understand what he's talking about or who may have been whispering something in his ear, but I can assure you from my firsthand experience, that is not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case at all.
And you will know from your time in combat zones that actually the US military has some incredibly strong links with its allies and partners. It serves seamlessly alongside the UK military, most obviously, but also the Australians, the Japanese, the Koreans, many others around NATO. I wonder if the president understands how important those mil-mil relationships are to operational effectiveness, and why he thinks it's helpful, therefore, to try and tear them down.
Man, all I can do is just speculate what may be in his mind, but I can tell you authoritatively from my firsthand experience, overall career, not just in that one deployment in Afghanistan, because I had a number of active operations that it had to do with, especially the British, but also the Canadians and Germans and several other kinds of operations where other NATO allies were. And I can absolutely agree with what you said, that the mill-to-mill relationships were spectacular. I never had anything, and I mean never had anything but exceptional engagements and operations. The professionalism of all the NATO forces were equal. I never came to a situation where I thought, well, this country, they weren't so good, but the rest of them were. No, everybody was equivalent. We were all of equal capabilities. The relationships were solid. Everybody was cooperative and worked together. I mean, it couldn't have been any better. It was basically like one force and just people wearing different uniforms in some places, but one mission and one objective. So in that regard, the operations were pretty effective.
How is President Trump regarded within the US military? When you speak to friends who are still serving or fellow veterans, I mean, on the one hand, sort of the kind of America first, and his belief in hard power is likely, I think, as that makes him a sort of soldier's president. I can imagine being quite keen on someone like that in charge of the UK government. But he sort of calls it wrong, and he offends allies and partners. And I wonder how he's therefore perceived within the military.
Not even so much because any of these recent remarks, I haven't spoken to anyone since he made those, but I can tell you there has been a shift, because really up until the time he took office here, generally speaking, I can say among the military, there were always exceptions, but generally they were very keen on him, as you suggest, because he campaigned on getting us out of stupid wars. And that was one of the big complaints that most, at least of my colleagues had in the military and those who had retired, were that we were in a lot of stupid wars, and I'm talking about going back decades, that should never have been fought, that they were badly mismanaged politically, that they were handled politically instead of militarily. And here comes this president saying, all right, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I'm going to get, especially in this election, the 2024, I'm going to get us out of the wars that we're in because they're all dumb. And, you know, especially this Russia-Ukraine, 24 hours, he said, well, okay, nobody actually thought that. But they figured that right at the beginning, he would be diligent to get the Russia-Ukraine war over with and wouldn't start any new. And now here we are, a year in, and I think there's it's either 5 or 7 different countries where he has conducted military operations, something pretty close to that, which could have been an all-out war in Iran in June of last summer. You know, the situation with Venezuela, Somalia, Nigeria. I mean, it's all over the place. And now then we could literally be days away from getting into this war in Iran again. And this one could be even bigger. And people in the military going, what happened to the guy who said he was against stupid wars? And now then we're shredding the Constitution. There is no separation of powers. The Congress is just completely kowtowed to whatever the man who's in the office of the White House wants to do. So that means that there is no separation of powers, and he can literally do anything he wants. That is a dangerous thing that many in the military, some find uncomfortable and some find outright alarming and dangerous.
All right. I'm going to put the link to that video in the Rumble One chat. If you want to watch the whole thing, it's right there in that chat. Yeah, so there you go. What are we saying here? Being there too. And Trump report, yeah, they put coins in there. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, there's the link, so you can avail yourselves of that if you wish. Yeah, I'm sure that there are some Canadian vets out there who are also very offended by what Mr. Trump had to say about that. I'll be right back. We're going to show you just how nasty Old Man Winter can be when we come back on the other side of this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So it is really nasty out there. A friend of mine sent me a video. I hope I can share this with you. I had to download the file. Let me see if we can do this here. I think it's right here. Yeah. Pretty sure we got it. There. Okay. I think this is going to work. So, as I said, I spent so much time today operating the old snowblower. We've got, I got this thing from my dad last year because his finally packed it in. And of course, I'm here taking care of chores like that while he's recovering. I don't know when I'm going to be able to leave because it's going to snow more this coming week and they get lots of it here. So I was blowing snow for half the day. Then we went shopping and man, it was cold out there. Had to take my folks shopping. That's an adventure. And it was nasty. I came in halfway through blowing the snow to warm up my my fingers after a while. Not too bad once you get going, but there's a lot of snow. So my friend David, he sent me a video of people slipping and sliding. And this isn't one of those anti-ice videos showing the ice officers falling flat on their face, but it is similar. Okay. I just thought it was really funny. So I thought I'd share it with you to kind of close off tonight's program. But don't go away, because we have Maverick Midnight Matinee following this. Oh man.
Okay, we're ready.
Yeah, that's
Holy
kind of
mackerel.
Story of my life. I've been here before too. Man.
No, we're gonna get her.
Mine is 11.
Oh,
God.
oh.
That's better. Yep. It's nasty. It's supposed to be, a big snowstorm over much of the U.S. Coming. It's going to be there. It's going to get even nastier. And more snow coming here. So I don't think I'm going anywhere until, the worst of this winter blows over. I don't know. I was talking to my brother on the phone over Christmas, and he said, it's the solstice thing, and it's like, what's the date today? He says, yeah, well, it's half over. It's all downhill from here. Yeah, it's really gone downhill. No, January is like the worst here, man. It's absolutely the worst. December's never really that bad. Then January hits and we just get hammered, right? And then you can talk about climate change all you want, but it's a pretty routine thing I think it's a routine thing anyway. This weather's going to persist at least until the middle of February, with maybe a brief respite in between, but no, it's going to stay cold. We're going to get way more snow. And down, the thing I'm really not looking forward to, even though it's beautiful, is the ice storms. We always get hit down in my hometown there of Chatham with at least one, sometimes two big ice storms right near the tail end of the winter season. Usually end of February, sometimes middle of February, depends on how the weather patterns are shaping up. But when those ice storms hit, you can be pretty sure that you're getting near the end of winter. And man, they are nasty. Everything just gets coated in ice, freezing rain. And it's just awful for driving, walking. The trees get coated. The branches come, crashing down because of the weight. But it is gorgeous. It really is. I've, on several occasions, gone out either more like morning sunrise or at sunset to shoot beautiful pictures of the ice covering the trees. Strange how nature is like that. It's trying to kill us. And yet it's so freaking beautiful. God's art. Okay, we're going to close the program off with this, and then we're going to come back with tonight's Maverick Midnight Matinee presentation. Not on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you have to jump off and go to one of our other platforms. Rumble would be the one to go to for our feature presentation of Devil Girl from Mars when we come back. See you on the flip side.
Drifting down without a sound, a gentle touch upon the ground. No two the same, yet side by side, like you and me in this great tide. Like a fingerprint from God, frozen tears from up above. Each one special, each one rare, a fleeting wonder light as air. Here for a moment, then melting away. Gone in the sunlight, lost in the day. Taken for granted, so easy to miss. Like life itself, so fragile is this. A million fall, yet each stands true. A perfect shape, a different hue. Just like us, no two alike. A spark of life, a soul in flight. Like a fingerprint from God, frozen tears from up above. Each one special, each one rare, a fleeting wonder light is air. Here for a moment, then melting away. Gone in the sunlight, lost in the day. Taken for granted, so easy to miss. Like life itself, so fragile is this. A million falling, yet each stands true. A perfect shape, a different hue. Just like us, no two alike. Like life itself, so fragile is this. Like you, like me, we shine, we fade, yet every soul is beautifully made. A moment to love, a moment to stay, before we drift, before we stray. Cherish the snowflakes, here only for a moment, then melt away.
Okay, we have a bit of a freezing problem, but it's time for Devil Girl from Mars, a Maverick Midnight Matinee. We'll see if the opener fires this time. Isn't that terrible? I hate it when it does that. Okay, enough of that. We're not doing that anymore. I don't like that. Hate it when it does that. We'll just go right into it, and maybe we'll get the movie to play. Man, that's frustrating. Okay. The problem is all on this end. Trust me. The computer's just freezing up. I just don't think we had enough power to run all the stuff that we've got queued up. But hello again, all you Maverick midnight matinee maniacs, insomniacs, accidental time travelers. Welcome to Maverick Midnight Matinee, where the coffee is strong, the movies are strange, and the Cold War never really ended. And it's freezing outside tonight, too. Tonight's feature comes to us straight out of 1954. Back when flying saucers were shiny, British accents made everything sound official, and alien invasions were somehow cheaper than modern CGI. Tonight's film is Devil Girl from Mars, and yes, the title promises exactly what it delivers. This is a movie from an era when aliens wore leather jumpsuits. Kind of like that. Kind of gets me going, if you know what I mean. Ray guns looked suspiciously like hair dryers, and Earth was always one bad decision away from total annihilation. Oh my, how things have changed, and yet stayed the same. Our visitor from Mars arrives with a simple mission. Take Earth men, leave Earth women, destroy the planet if necessary. Honestly efficient, no committees, no panels, just vibes. Very Trump style. Just get her done. Screw the rule of law. Who cares about ethics? Just grab your popcorn, silence your Martian death ray, and prepare yourself for a sci-fi classic that proves one thing beyond doubt. Humanity has always underestimated women in black leather. I am going to look in the chat. Are we still running? Are we okay? Can I run this movie, or are we losing our feed? Is it too darn choppy? I think we're okay. Let me just see if it's running. Oh, check. Yeah, I think we're good. All right. So are you ready, folks? Let's get this classic queued up. We're ready to rock with the Devil Girl from Mars. Colorized version, by the way. And here we go from Spartan Productions. 1954.